Hello and welcome back, this is ProTailDev, back with another video. This time what we're going to be working on is a brand new project, a VR game, and this is going to be available for desktop as well, desktop versions, and with that I'm also might do it for Xbox as well, so for console with controller support. We'll see. So before I get into the actual Unity engine to work on it, I'm specifically going to be only working on the startup, the setup today. I'm not going to be actually going into designing specifically, but before we do any of that I want to kind of explain the game and basically the concept, kind of what we have planned. So this is going to be a slow game, walking, hands-on, grounded, and the whole point of this game is you're going to be a hiker who, a cave explorer. You're going to come across a cave which you want to explore. You go through the cave and you discover this strange, I'm not sure how I'm going to build it in yet, but you're going to encounter an orb. It's either going to be an orb or an idol, which will tie in later. But if it is the orb, essentially what's going to happen is the player can interact with it. They'll be able to click it and it will begin this whole concept. So the name of this game is Within the Stray Province. Again, this will tie in a little bit more to later, but basically you'll be able to go and interact with this idol or orb, and you'll basically zone out into this darkened area which will have a few lights around, and you'll be introduced to what you actually have to do. So this is where the game actually starts. So kind of like how you're going to be, I take a little bit of inspiration from things like Spore or From Dust or other games like that where you are playing as a god. So this is a god game, and what's going to come up is an orb, a basic rock essentially. I don't know if I'm going to do low poly because everything else I'm trying to get as high quality, but this orb is essentially going to be a world where you can control what happens to it. I haven't decided if you are going to be able to pick things out of the cave that you're in, or if there's going to be a menu that comes up where you can drag items from it. I haven't quite decided. I do like the first option more, however it's going to be a bit awkward to try and bring it all that together, but you're basically going to play God and try and get a civilization going. Very basic civilization where it's basically tribal, and then maybe try and get it the next stage up, and then the game will end. I have an idea of how the game will end as well, but I'll be looking into that later. I don't want to go too complicated, especially early on. So this is going to be a relatively small game, at least until I maybe want to expand on it a little bit more, see how people think of it, and maybe I'll add more to it. But basically, yeah, you've got an orb, you can customize it. I'm hoping you'll be able to customize individual animals and things. We'll see. But you'll certainly be able to customize the landscape and the world. It's not going to be too big, this world, which is kind of why it's going to be in the palm of your hands essentially. But hopefully it's going to be really interesting and a little bit of a fun experience, at least for a while. Okay, so that's enough of me rambling on. Let's get straight into it. So after loading up our Unity project, which is in 2020 version 0.1.4, we make sure that the render pipeline wizard is fixed everything, and we'll go through all the different settings. We enable the Oculus because it's going to be a VR game. We will disable it later because it'll cause issues, but we'll just enabling it here now and make sure everything's in place. The reason why I had to have the wizard there is obviously because I'm using the high definition render pipeline this time. And to do that, the reason I'm doing that is so we have better lighting quality, make things look really nice for this version. I want to go for more realistic look for the game, as I said a second ago. So after I've made sure all the settings were correct, I want to get some assets. So I want to create them myself because I don't want to spend the time doing that. So I've got some free assets. Here you go. I downloaded a bunch, and I'm just going to go with these, the rock packages. There'll be a name on the on the video right now of what packages I've used and who created them. They were all free, so there's no need to worry about that. They were all available for me to use, and they're all from the asset store. So once I brought them all in, you'll immediately, I'm just having a look here to see which ones I want to actually bring in. So the vegetation pack, and a bunch of rock packs because it's all about caves. And what I'm actually doing while this is loading is just going to talk about this video's main thing I'm going to be going over in the startup is the fact that things don't quite work, the materials turn pink, and this is a common issue with the high definition render pipeline. So as you can see, all the objects here are broken. Even if you convert materials, they'll still be broken a lot of the time. So what I'm doing here is I've gone into, so some of the packages had pre-created scenes which I'll delete and get rid of later. The reason why I brought them in is just to test and try and fix materials. It's just a testing area. I'm always going to delete them later. So here I've just tried to fix some of my materials and convert them. It hasn't worked. I've gone and made sure again. I've reloaded it and tried to re-import everything to see if that fixes. Because a lot of people online say that's how it fixes. A lot of the time it doesn't. In my cases, it has never fixed it. I make sure all the settings again are correct. I'm going through everything before I start manually fixing materials. Here you have the, this is another thing that people say online that will always work, which it doesn't, is to try and convert it again after you've re-imported stuff. Converting the normal materials and custom materials into normal high definition ones never works. It's never worked for me. So here I am fixing some stuff, getting things ready. And then one last time I try and upgrade the materials. Doesn't work. So here what I'm doing is at these prefabs, I'm re-importing them manually. Then I'm doing the same thing for the materials. This kind of fixes them, but not really. Here I brought in a rock, which as you can see the materials are broken. And this is on the far right, you may notice the materials definitely aren't converting. They're on mobile. They're on a shader for mobile, so they've not converted the shaders properly. So I'm creating a material folder here to create my own custom material to make sure that if I were to create them manually, they would be still working, which as you can see they are. I add in a normal map to make sure they are definitely working with the lighting, and yep, everything's fine. So I know it's not the materials, I know that's not the issues. So here I am just re-importing everything again. It'll all go purple and broken, and then I decide to fix the materials. So one last try again, trying to convert them so I don't have to try and do the work myself, which doesn't work. So here I am, and now actually customly fixing them. So to fix them, all you have to do is replace the texture and the normal map again after setting it to a high definition render pipeline lit for the shader. So it's a bit annoying for the shaders, so you're going to have to redo them yourself. This does fix them, but it's still quite a bit of an annoyance. But as you can see, it does fix the materials at the bottom left are fixed. And then once that's done, I'm just quickly showing you that it does definitely work. Of course, the objects here aren't working again, so I re-import them. This time it has fixed the material. Now that the materials were fixed, once I re-imported the prefabs, it did fix them. And then I brought them into our main scene, our sample scene, to make sure the rocks are working and lighting's working on them, which it is. Now I'm getting a bunch of errors here because I've enabled VR, even though there's no VR plugged in and there's no VR integration yet. So I disabled that on startup, and here I am just looking at the rocks to make sure the lighting's right. So this was a really short video, just me kind of showing off how to fix those issues with high render pipeline and getting ready to use that system for the lighting, ready for our next video, which is going to focus on actually designing the level, at least the entrance level to the cave. What I'll do off screen is I'll also fix all of the materials from the other packages that I've got and any materials that I've brought in that I'm going to be using. So I'll do that off screen so you don't have to sit through that. Okay, that'll do it. I'm very excited to get into this VR game. This has been ProTailDev, and I'll see you next time.